Welcome to your personalized deep dive. We're diving into some really fascinating stuff today. Ethics for behavior analysts. You sent us some really interesting material.
Yeah, should be a good one.
It really is. And we're so ready to unpack it all. We're talking about the core principles, the things that make this field tick.
It's more than just do no harm.
Right, exactly.
We're really going to dig into how these principles come to life day to day and how they guide behavior analysts to make those ethical decisions.
It's like we're about to open up the behavior analyst's ethical playbook. Like, this is how you navigate tricky situations. And speaking of navigating this source ethics for behavior analysts, it lays out like these 4 major guideposts: benefiting others, treating everyone with compassion and respect, acting with integrity, and ensuring competence.
And these aren't like optional. These are the pillars, the foundation of what we do. And they require constant effort. You always have to be thinking about them and reflecting on your own practice.
So it's not enough to just know the rules. It's about putting them into action. And it all starts with this idea of benefiting others, which sounds pretty straightforward, but this source really digs a little deeper.
Absolutely. It's not about just those quick wins, those short-term outcomes. You have to be thinking about the long game, the impact your actions have over time. So let's say you're working with an elderly woman and you're teaching her how to use a smartphone.
Okay, sounds good so far. Helping her stay connected, right? Maybe learn some new skills.
Exactly. But let's think even bigger picture. What if, instead of just showing her how to play games on her phone, you actually help her learn how to video call her grandkids who live across the country?
Whoa. Okay, now you're talking about potentially changing her life, not just teaching her a new skill. It's about finding those deeper, more meaningful benefits.
Exactly. It's about going beyond just scratching the surface and digging into how we can create a real, lasting, positive impact on someone's life.
Which brings us to this whole idea of respect.
Mm-hmm.
And this source does not mess around. It's about treating every single person we work with compassion, with dignity, with respect. No exceptions.
And a huge part of that, non-negotiable part, is maintaining confidentiality.
Oh, for sure.
Think about it. Your clients, they're trusting you with some of their most sensitive information.
It's like that moment when you realize, wait, my therapist is also my kid's soccer coach. Talk about awkward. You're really hoping they're good at keeping things confidential.
And it goes beyond just avoiding awkward encounters.
Yeah.
Right? Imagine the potential fallout if you break that confidentiality, the damage to your reputation, to your career.
Yeah.
This isn't just some ethical suggestion. It is crucial. Absolute crucial to building trust and having a sustainable practice.
Makes you realize how important it is to get this right. And this source had this example, this new RBT who confided in HR about being transgender.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And things went downhill from there. The information wasn't kept confidential. Yeah. It's a tough situation. And it just reminds us that respecting confidentiality, it's not just a box to be checked. It's about making sure that everyone, every single person, feels safe and respected enough to share what they need to share without being afraid of, being outed or judged or any of that. And that feeling of safety is so important for building that trust that this whole profession is built on.
It really is. Everything comes back to that trust. And that leads right into our next principle, integrity. And the source really hammered this one home. Honesty, trustworthiness, taking responsibility for your actions as a behavior analyst. Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, it's a big one. And it kind of makes you ask yourself, would I trust this person with my own family? Would I trust them to care for my child or my aging parent? Like, that's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
It is a high bar for a reason.
It really is a high bar, and rightfully so.
Rightfully so. And building on that foundation of trust and integrity, we got to talk about competence.
Yeah.
Because it's not enough to just be a good person. You got to know your stuff.
Oh, absolutely. And this source makes a really interesting comparison. They say professionals who stop learning are like stagnant water.
Ooh, that's a good one. Makes sense, though. If you're not moving forward, you're falling behind.
Exactly. Think about it. Would you want a doctor who never reads any new medical journals treating you?
Hard pass.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same for behavior analysts. To be truly competent, we have to stay current. We got to be all over the latest research, always seeking out those professional development opportunities, and we have to be wary of anything that sounds too good to be true, those miracle cures and stuff.
Definitely some red flags there. So it's about being a lifelong learner, always pushing yourself to be the best you can be in this field. Okay, so we've talked about benefiting others, respect, integrity, competence, all super important. But let's shift gears a bit and talk about this interesting distinction the source makes between client and stakeholder. It really broadens the scope of responsibility, doesn't it?
It really does.
Huh.
It's recognizing that your work, it doesn't just impact the client sitting in front of you, it impacts a whole network of people.
Right. It's like this ripple effect.
Exactly. You have family members, caregivers, other professionals. They're all stakeholders.
Even the funding agency, the source, specifically mentions them.
Which I thought was interesting.
Yeah. It just highlights how far-reaching our work can be and all the different people it touches. And when you factor in those stakeholders, it adds like this whole other layer to ethical decision-making, right? Because it's not just about what's best for the client anymore.
Absolutely. The source gives a really interesting example. Imagine a behavior analyst. They open a private practice.
Okay, sounds good so far.
Right. But then they start charging their university students for supervision hours at that clinic.
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
It gets a little murky, right?
Yeah.
Because are they putting their students' needs first, or are they prioritizing their own financial gain?
It's a potential conflict of interest.
Exactly. And it's a great example of why it's so important to be aware of those potential conflicts and to have a solid plan for addressing them ethically.
Right. It's about being proactive, being transparent, and sometimes it might even mean seeking guidance from like a trusted colleague or mentor.
Absolutely. It's always a good idea to, reach out if you're unsure about something. Err on the side of caution.
100%. And speaking of navigating those tricky situations, the source also talks about respecting a client's self-determination.
So important.
Essential. It's about empowering our clients, especially those who might be more vulnerable, to make their own choices about their own lives, right?
Yeah. It's moving away from that more like directive approach and moving towards something that's more collaborative, more empowering.
So instead of telling our clients what to do, it's about giving them the tools and the skills they need to advocate for themselves and make choices that align with their values, their goals.
Exactly. And that might look different for every client.
Of course.
For one person, it might be as simple as letting them choose what they want to work on that day.
Right.
For another person, it might be about teaching them how to use like assistive technology to communicate their needs more effectively.
It's about meeting people where they are and figuring out what works best for them. Now, we can't talk about all this without addressing the elephant in the room, which is, of course, technology.
Oh, here we go.
Right. Because this stuff is changing the game. The source even talks about how telehealth and AI are like revolutionizing the field.
It's wild. And it's exciting because technology has the potential to make these services way more accessible, more convenient for clients.
Absolutely. But, and this is a big but, it also comes with this whole new set of ethical questions, doesn't it? Like, how do we ensure privacy and confidentiality in a telehealth session? How do we guarantee equitable access to these technology-based interventions?
Those are such important questions, and they don't have easy answers. As tech keeps evolving, we have to constantly adapt, adjust our ethical decision-making to keep up.
Right.
We have to be so mindful of the potential downsides and really proactive in finding solutions.
It's almost like, we're building the plane while we're flying it.
Right.
We have all these amazing tools, all this incredible tech, but we have to be so careful to make sure we're using it ethically responsibly.
Absolutely. And that responsibility extends to something else the source talks about, which is cultural responsiveness.
Oh, yeah. Such a critical piece of this.
It is. Because we're not working in a vacuum, right?
Definitely not.
We're working with real people from all different backgrounds, with their own cultures, their own beliefs and values, and we have to be respectful of that.
It's about recognizing that what works for one person might not work for another, and that's okay. There's no one-size-fits-all approach here.
Exactly. We can't just slap a Band-Aid on every situation and call it a day,
Yeah.
We have to adapt. Take those evidence-based practices we rely on and adjust them, tweak them, so they really resonate with the client's cultural context. It's about finding that sweet spot.
That balance between being true to the science
Yes.
and being sensitive to the individual.
Exactly.
This deep dive has been honestly eye-opening. It's so clear that ethical behavior analysis, it's not just about checking boxes and following a set of rules. It's so much bigger than that.
It really is. It's about bringing that compassion, that integrity, and a commitment to always keep learning to everything you do. It's about recognizing that we have this enormous responsibility
Huge.
to our clients, to the people around them, to the field itself.
And it's about being humble enough to admit that we don't have all the answers.
Oh, for sure.
We're all learning as we go, and that's okay.
Absolutely. That's what makes this such a dynamic and rewarding field to be in. We're always growing and evolving.
So to you, our listener, as you continue to explore the world of behavior analysis, here's something to think about. How can you weave these ethical principles into everything you do? How can you make sure that every interaction, every decision you make really reflects the best of the best when it comes to ethical behavior analysis?
That's the question, isn't it? And it's one we should be asking ourselves not just today, but every single day as we navigate the challenges and rewards of this work.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's been amazing diving deep with you. Until next time, everyone, keep those ethical considerations top of mind.